So many Americans have visceral reactions to the symbol of the veil and Muslim women. For instance, take a look at a picture, this woman walking down the street. What are you thinking when you look at her? And what are you thinking when you look at her now? Well, as Western countries increasingly push back against women wearing the veil, we wanted to know more about what is real option, what is oppression. Whether in the name of piety, Islam is treating women as just property, second-class citizens in a culture controlled by men. Here's my ABC News colleague, Lama Hassan.
In too many Muslim communities, women are being forced to veil themselves.
From the crest of a sand dune emerges one of the most arresting and controversial images of Islam, a woman covered from head to toe.
To be enshrouded in a cloth prison is clearly suppression.
But this is an American, 32-year-old Hiba Ahmed, who lives with her husband and children near Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I do not see covering as a negative thing. It is something that I love, and nobody could pay me to take this off.
But have you not taken it a step too far? Because in the Quran, it doesn't say that women should cover their faces.
That's correct.
It says that they should dress modestly.
Exactly. But we also know that many of the pious Muslim women in our history also chose to cover their face as well, and it's an extra step that people can do.
Hiba started wearing that veil, called a niqab, after 9/11. The attacks inspired her to question, then commit to her faith. So did the sexual harassment Hiba says she experienced in her workplace.
So many times in society, women are objectified, they're sexualized, they're used to sell product. This is my liberation, and this is the way that I want to be taken seriously.
A personable American in a niqab is an appealing image, but it is far from the norm.
In a Muslim country, women are absolutely, undoubtedly oppressed.
The women I've spoken to say they are empowered. It makes them feel free because they are choosing to wear the niqab or to cover
Because
their
they're
faces.
in a free country and they can. And I will tell you that any woman who is not free is not coming on your show and telling you about it so she can go home and get abused. It's never going to happen.
Pamela Geller says it's important to remember the coerced coverings, the honor killings, the stonings, harsh examples of Sharia, a system of Islamic law which can be interpreted in many ways, but is often applied to oppress women.
أدب عند الضرب إذا ضرب عند التأديب لا يرفع يده إلى أعلى.
In this broadcast recently shown on Egyptian television, a Muslim cleric explains how and why a husband should beat his wife.
هذا تكريم للمرأة هي تحتاج إلى تأديب.
In extreme cases, Sharia is about more than piety. It's also about treating women as chattel.
This is what it means to, submit to the will of Allah, is to submit to your father's wishes, to submit to your husband, to cover
Scholar
yourself.
and activist Ayan Hirsi Ali is one of the world's strongest critics of Islam. She says while the Bible and the Quran both contain misogynist passages, there is a crucial historical difference. Unlike Islam, the Jewish and Christian traditions underwent major transformations during the Enlightenment.
These are religions that were subjected to close scrutiny, to systematic criticism. That is a process that Islam in general has not gone through.
The impact has been profound. According to a recent study, 12 of the 14 countries with the worst gender inequality are predominantly Muslim.
How would you defend Sharia law?
I mean, honor killings and coerced head coverings are actually not Islamic. There are cultural and tribal practices.
But even here in America, there are horror stories. In 2008, Amina and Sarah Sayed of Texas were allegedly killed by their father after he found out they were dating non-Muslims. And last year in Arizona, 20-year-old Noor al-Maliki died after her father ran her over. Police say he claimed he did so because she was too Americanized before he pleaded not guilty to murder.
There are isolated cases, but they do happen. They happen in this country. Honor killings happen in this country. So that has nothing to do with the culture.
Right, but that they are in fact as isolated incidences, and they do not represent the vast majority of Muslims.
I am scared of devout Islam, of the Sharia in this country. I am.
Geller, a fixture at protests against the so-called Ground Zero mosque, ran these bus ads offering support to people, especially women who are trying to leave Islam but are fearful of retribution.
I'm not talking to all Muslims. I'm talking to Muslims that are in trouble, that need help. There are Islamic supremacists, and we see that they do try to impose their will on the societies that they infiltrate, and we need to be careful.
That resistance to Islamic influence echoes French President Nicolas Sarkozy's view of the niqab. It's not a religious symbol, he says. It is a sign of enslavement. It will not be welcome in the French Republic. What's happening here in France might be a model for those countries looking to push back against the influx of Islamic culture. This year, the French Parliament overwhelmingly passed a new and controversial law forbidding women to cover their faces in public.
The face is the dignity of a person. The face is your passport. So when you refuse me to see you, I am the victim.
Jacques Miard, a conservative member of the French Parliament, supports the ban.
You have countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia. Both countries dictate to women what they should wear. You're doing the same thing by telling them what not to wear.
I am imposing liberty, which is different.
In the midst of this clash of cultures, there are signs of hard-earned progress for women. In Kuwait, women won the right to vote in 2005. And Jordan has recently increased the punishments for so-called honor crimes. And for what it's worth, in 2007, Dubai hosted its first Fashion Week.
Women in the world of Islam really need to start asserting their individuality.
Professor Irshad Manji, an Islamic reformer, believes the Quran can be interpreted along more feminist lines.
The Quran is very, very clear that in the eyes of God, men and women have equal rights and equal responsibilities. At the Prophet Muhammad's own beloved first wife, Khadija, was a wealthy, self-made entrepreneur.
Islam can be reformed if the Quran can be revised.
Both Manji and Ali have received death threats for those kind of statements.
I have to be protected 24 hours by policemen who carry guns.
But Manji also received plenty of support from young Muslims eager for change.
We are living in a moment of incredible opportunity as Muslims to teach each other how to update interpretations for a brand new, diverse 21st century world.
And when we come back, one of the questions you ask us the most in your emails, why don't we hear and see more mainstream, peaceful Muslims speaking up and speaking out?